world. That everyone is somehow a part of who we are. And oftentimes when we see something in someone that we don't like, if we look very carefully, we find that we don't like that in ourselves. And so everyone becomes a reflection of who we are as we see them. And so when Jesus said, do not judge, but judge righteous judgments, we must realize that righteous judgment is one that is in alignment with the question, what good am I being presented the opportunity to do because of what seemed to me not so good? That is righteous judgment. Righteous judgment isn't, oh, well, I knew all the time you were as rotten as you are. And yeah, I wish I could just kick you in the shin and get away with it. No, that's not why we are here. That's not why we study the science of mind. We study to get beyond our littleness, to be willing to let go of a life that seems to frame who and what we are in such a small, marginal way that it refuses to grow out, to risk sometimes being hurt by others, to extend the heart light that shines so brightly within and desires so much to be shining even more brightly without. We are in the reflection of God. And that reflection, that image, is one of love, one of goodness, one of relatedness. There is nothing in the world, the wide world, not just the earth, that we do not relate to. We are part and parcel of everything there is. In the atoms, in the particles smaller than the atoms, in the vast universe that we can't even imagine its scope. And yet we need to understand that the old image that we had once upon a time, that humans were the center of the universe, must be given up. It's like saying a flea is the center of the universe, in the sense of the flea is the most important thing in the universe. In some ways, yes, we are centers within the universe. The universe is an omni-centered universe. The universe centers everywhere because God is that center that is everywhere, and that circumference that is nowhere. And we are part of that. And we come to the place where we have to imagine, okay, so what? So what? Because we are practical people, and we want to know, how does that allow me to let go of my criticism, which, as far as I'm concerned, is fully justified. People have done bad things to me. And what we come to realize is that when we replace fear and judgment with love, we don't have to know how to do anything, because it simply automatically dissolves it back into the nothingness from which it came. There is something within us that knows what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and how to do it. And it's in every one of us. And the only reason it doesn't work as well as it may is because we do not give it the chance to work. And the way to give it the chance to work is to recognize you're part and parcel of the harmony that exists in the universe, and that harmony is God's harmony, and it is universal. And we can apply this to our health. And when we apply it to our health, it doesn't mean that we just go and keep up all our bad habits, drinking too much, smoking too much, whatever bad habits. I know you people don't have it, but I want to talk about them anyway. Doing things, having too much sugar, because, oh, it tastes good. But remember, your tongue is not the rest of your body. And the rest of your body don't like all that sugar, because it's just going to break down all the things the cells need to do. So what we are realizing that is, as we come to love God, as we come to realize what God is, and God is the very life of the entire universe that you see around you, and even the part of the universe you cannot see around you that still sustains you, then you say, well, how can I be more like that? And you start with love. You can just imagine when the group of men around Jesus, his disciples, were wondering about what the greatest of the commandments was or were. And Jesus, reflecting very quickly on the Mosaic commandments, came to the conclusion that love is the commandment. It was Augustine, sainted by the church, one of the first theologians of the Catholic Church, of the Christian church at the time, who said, love and do whatever you want. Jesus said, love God, love the expansive nature of life, and then love the individuals within that. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now it doesn't say do unto others if they do good to you, or only when they do good to you first. Then you reflect it back to them. What we're seeing is that your relationship with love is a proactive relationship. It doesn't wait for the other to be as good as you want them to be, for you to be as good as you ought to be. It is an opportunity for you to do this. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be what I call micro acts of love. Micro acts of love. I'll give you an example. My neighbor, a doctor that lives in front of me, is retired, he's hard of hearing, he's not quite with it. And sometimes his garbage can don't get put out when the truck is about ready to come. And when Cecile sees it, she says, go down, Moses. That is me. Go fetch those garbage cans and put them out. You think Moses only get all the high-polluting duties to do? I am talking about the micro acts of love. Nobody's going to, our dear doctor across the street will never know who put his garbage cans out. I don't even know if he knew that the garbage cans were out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I know you all do things like this. I'm not trying to say this micro act of love elevates me above anybody. No. It's what we do. And it doesn't have to, we don't have to wait till the big deal comes along. If the big deals come along, fine. You do them too. But the funny thing about life is if you get in the habit of doing the little things, the little acts of love, even when it seems that somehow it's not to your advantage, all of a sudden, the universe, not wanting to owe you anything, will reward you even more greatly. But you're not doing it for the reward. If you do it for the reward, then you have already shrunken away the act of God, lovingness, working through you at the level that He should. We don't just give because it has a tax benefit. We don't just give because, somebody said, I should do it out of duty. We may start like that. Sometimes we have to start where we are. Because if you haven't felt that sense of the presence, that warm sense of the presence, then you will not reach that place where you can act out of the great lovingness of your heart. So you start where you can. Start where you are. That's the only place you can begin. But the point is not to stay in love 101 forever. You need to graduate. You need to move along. You need to understand that life is forever opening up new and ever greater opportunities for you. Now let me look at what it is that I was supposed to talk about. I want to share with you some thoughts on what a spiritual discipline that came through science has said about how we are to relate to each other. This is what they call process theology. And it says all things flow. Reality is relational through and through. Reality is a social process. Freedom is inherent in the world. To be an individual, whether a human mind or an elementary particle, is to be self-creative. Everything in the world is creative. Self-creative. And there's a level of consciousness in everything, even in particles, that responds to God. However, each individual must create itself out of all that has gone before. Think about this. You are a product of what you have been. But it doesn't mean that if you haven't been the person you want to be, you can't change it, but it is done processively. It is done in a way that you look at the thorns on the rose bush, and right now, ours at home are all brown leaves. I'm so excited when I see that. Do you have brown leaves on your roses? Those of you who have roses? Yes, you do. And then from that thorny root and that stem and the past, what will come? That magnificent bloom of roses. And that is what you're capable of. And that is what they're talking about. Out of what is your roots can still grow. The magnificence of God. And so they're talking about this. And so,